Joining me right now for analysis on all of this, we have Fox News strategic analyst and the author of a brand new book. We have Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Good to see you, sir.
Always good to see you, Trish.
Wow, we have been saying over and over again, almost every day, you and me, right here on this show, that China needs to do more. China needs to take some responsibility. China needs to put pressure on North Korea. And now they seem to be getting the message. What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is this is a good day. But it's not yet a day to be euphoric. I mean, you just used the key word, seem. Now, China is saying the right things, but we have to wait for the details of what they're actually going to tell their banks. Because some reports in international media just say, well, there's no new loans to North Korea. Well, that's not the issue. The issue is money laundering, money transfers, et cetera. But nonetheless, any action, any serious action by President Xi of China is certainly welcome because, as you pointed out time and again, this is the last best hope short of military action. Now, the other good thing today is that there's no daylight between President Trump and Prime Minister Abe of Japan and President Moon of South Korea, who was initially pretty wishy-washy on things. He is moving in the right direction. So the alliance is strengthening. The Chinese banks, there's a big question mark about what they'll actually do. And remember, you know, S&P, Standard & Poor's, and Moody's have recently downgraded China's credit rating. So we'll see. My outstanding questions are two. Will China turn a blind eye to people trading illicitly with North Korea? And will the Russians step in? Because when President Trump talked about cracking down on people who do business with North Korea,
Russians are part of that. I hear you. No, there's a lot of illicit activity, a lot of smuggling that happens. And, of course, I should point out that China's told us before that they aren't going to trade with North Korea. And yet, as far as the trade numbers look, I mean, you look at the first quarter of this year, they were out there saying, no, we're gonna curtail this. And what do you know? Trade was up nearly 40%. Yeah. But I think it goes further than just sanctions, because as Art Laffer told us just the other day, the problem sometimes with sanctions is that you're cutting off this region from the rest of the world. And while that may seem fine, the danger, Colonel Peters, is that you've got rogue Islamic nations that may be more motivated by religion than anything else that might want to use this stuff against us. And are we putting Kim Jong-un in a position where he needs that financial resource and he might sell some of this technology? So that's a danger. So I say you got to go back to what you and I keep talking about, and that's either changing this regime in North Korea or disarming them. And China has the intelligence and the capability to do that. They just need to be willing.
But they won't. China will go only so far. They don't want to be seen as betraying their ally. And again, North Korea is very valuable to China as a strategic partner, as a cat's paw to play against the United States. And we often forget that the greatest strength, ironically, that Kim Jong-un has is he doesn't care how many North Koreans die. I mean, even Vladimir Putin has to answer the Russian people at some point. In Iran, Rouhani and Khamenei at some point have to answer to the Iranian people. Kim Jong-un doesn't have to answer to his people. All he has to do is keep his Praetorian Guard, his military paid and fed. And so it's a very dangerous situation still.
Well, you know, look, he doesn't have to answer to the people. At some point, the people might say, OK, we've had enough, right? Because they might start to rebel against that. We've certainly seen that before in other parts of the world. I just keep saying, you know, Colonel Peters, I want us to put as much pressure on China as we can, because there are a lot of things that we can do. We represent so much to them. We buy so much from China. We have a whole lot of power. We need to be able to use it.
Yeah. Well, we buy so much from China, and China steals so much from us.
Yes.
That's their idea of fair trade. But look.
And they're in violation, by the way, of the WTO agreement. We really haven't done anything about that. We're now threatening. And, you know, for them to steal $200 to $300 billion in intellectual property every year, Colonel Peters, we can clamp down on this, as we should.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, you know, to me, the way to deal with Iran is to make an example of North Korea, if necessary. I am concerned about, you know, picking more than one fight at a time. Right. But nonetheless, in the long term, Once the North Korea problem is solved, and it will be solved one way or the other, the great strategic competitor is China. Russia doesn't have the population, it doesn't have the GDP, it doesn't have the oomph left anymore. China is a great strategic competitor. China sees it. We close our eyes.
Okay. Well, look, you heard me say before, I would rather lose dollars than lives.
Oh, yes.
So let's explore every economic possibility. First, Colonel Peters, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you.